Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So, tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we've got a lot to talk about. There was a Sea of Thieves news video talking about ship speed adjustments. We've got gilded voyages, all that and more on this week's episode of Keelhauled podcast. But before I get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They're the ones that are supporting this content to help get me to Fest of Legends. That's right. I am taking the next couple monthly donations from the Patreon, and that is going to be applied to the cost of the ticket. That was the flight that I just booked for Fest of Legends. Very excited about that. Very happy that I'm going to be able to do that, and it's all thanks to you. So if you want to support this content and get a chance to meet me at Fest of Legends, I'm going to be there from Thursday to Monday, and I'm going to be hanging out with anyone that I can. And it's all thanks to the patrons. They're the ones that they're small little bits. Every little bit helps. It all adds up, and that is coming to pay for the tickets, the food, stuff like that. So I really appreciate the patrons for their contributions or contributions to this content. It really does mean the world to me. So if you want to be part of that, head over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast. And there's different tiers that you can support at. You can also just join up for free as well, too, if you just want to be a free member. But the content is the same that you're getting from the from the regular feed. The difference being is that the different tiers that I have give you access to the patron only channel in the Discord, or access to the monthly patron episodes that I do. And actually, just as a quick reminder, now that I think about it, the next episode is coming up this weekend. So the 25th of May is when we're going to be recording the community episode. So keep that in mind coming into that. I know it's going to be Memorial Day weekend, but just as a reminder, there is going to be that Gold Hoarder episode for the Gold Hoarder tiers. So with that, I want to thank the patrons, starting off with Adorabold, L Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Hayes, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, Jorby Jorbs, J Hood, Carl Embo, Kazia the Aficionado, Cryptic Slayer, Lumpy SRQ, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Mutinous Max, Norwegian, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Replicated Flame, Rustbelt Kid, Scamel 666, Captain Dasm, Tommy D, TN Professor, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Anthony N. Jr., Captain J. Rat of the Flaming Cold Sore, The Lore Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H., Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and Zam Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. I love that you're able to do it. Make sure you're always taking care of yourself first. I totally understand if you have to drop membership at any point in time. Financial situations are always difficult, and this is something you don't have to do. And I appreciate that you do it. And I will not let that go, that appreciation go to waste too. Thank you all. Let's get into the episode. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you all are having a wonderful weekend. I have been looking forward to talking about these gilded voyages since they announced them. I was very curious how they were going to happen. They are going on from the 16th through to the 23rd or the 22nd if you're in the United States, just to give you a heads up based on time zones. But we knew about these. I can't even remember if I actually talked about these. I hope I did. I hope I gave you guys a heads up about them. But they're everywhere talking about everything. It's really awesome to see like the different amount of loot that has been coming in as a result of these new gilded voyages, and boy howdy are they worth it. So as of recording this, I have only gotten to do 3 of the 4. Bear in mind, if you are a pirate legend, you will be getting the Athena's Fortune for these. The way that you have to get these is going to be through your actual quest table. So what you'll want to do is you want to head over to your ship, head over to your actual table like you normally would if you're going to be getting one of those voyages, And when you first open that up, the best thing to do is actually on the Discover tab, there's 3 little panels underneath that kind of give you a bit of an idea of what's going on with the Discover thing. So you're going to want to page all the way over to the right and find new voyage unlocked. Or honestly, I take this all back. You know what? This is not a great way to go about it. Head to the quest table, go down to voyages. Then I want you to go, you'll see Gold Hoarder, Order, Souls, Merchant Alliance, Hunter's Call, Reaper's Bones, Athena's Fortune. At the very end, there is a 3rd tab that has just a Reaper mark, and it's just special voyages. So you click on special voyages. Then you've got limited time voyages. Now these are only going to be available in high seas, but what they'll do is they will give you a gilded voyage for the Gold Hoarders, the Order of Souls, and the Merchant Alliance. And if you're a Pirate Legend, Athena's Fortune one. You've got I'd say about 3 days left to kind of get these knocked out, and you only get 1 per. Now, the issue with these is, like some of the issues that I've seen in game is they are 1 quantity. So if you put it down, I will let you know that people have been having trouble diving to the location. Now, your experience is going to vary a lot, because I've had some people say that they've lost 3 of the 4 voyages to diving and have not been able to recover those. I've had myself have one of them where the dive to location actually failed, and we respawned back at the outpost, which just meant we just had to go sail to the actual island. It wasn't as convenient as the actual dive. Myself, of the ones that I've done for myself, I have yet to have any trouble with any of these not working. So consider me what the standard should be, but also maybe a bit of a unicorn in this instance. So hopefully you guys haven't lost any. I would really feel bad if you did, but head over to voyages, and then over in the special voyages, you'll see that limited voyages option. When you put one of these down, you're going to be greeted by a different set of quests. Now, each of these quests are going to offer a fair amount of treasure. And I would guess that an average payout, if you're running the appropriate emissary, which is very much recommended, you will probably get somewhere in the neighborhood of 500,000 gold. It will vary depending on what you have and what you pick up along the way and what rank you are, but overall you should be able to pull in about 500,000 gold per voyage. Now, the beauty of this is that each person is going to get their own set of 4 if they're a Pirate Legend, 3 if you're not. If you have 4 people on 1 galleon, that effectively gives you 16 different voyages to be able to go through. I will let you know that in my experience, it's good to kind of stagger these out. So that way you're not hoarding a bunch of treasure all at once. You can kind of change things up and give yourself some time to work on one. So you're not doing 4 limited time Athenas. Now, that is just kind of my recommendation. Your playtime and your experience is going to matter significantly in your choice. But as always, I would recommend being very cautious about this. And if you don't have any more, it's always a good opportunity to go on the hunt for them as well, too. If other people are working on them, there's a good chance you can kind of see them hopping from one island to another, see how they kind of move from a sequence of islands and get an idea of whether or not they're actually working on one of these voyages, because all of them are going to roughly be in the same area, not too far apart from them. So you can kind of see, okay, well, they finished up over at Devil's Ridge, so they're going over to Thieves Haven, and then they're going to pop over to Crook's Hollow, and then Barnacle Cay, and then maybe, you can kind of gauge where they're at the stage if you have someone able to kind of keep an eye on that ship and see what they're up to. So as far as payout goes, these are fantastic. I really think that they've done an amazing job with them. If these are going to be the new normal as far as the gilded voyages, I'm very happy with what they've done with it. First off, all of the loot that's in there is really high quality. It's pretty good stuff. You're not really going to get anything that's too boring or blasé. So you'll get a good payout for that. But the nice thing about that is that each voyage, each gilded voyage is going to have a certain number. I think it's 2 to 4. I'm not 100% positive because I haven't done the merchant one, so I'm not sure. But you'll be definitely getting some of that new raid loot. And if you're not familiar with the raid loot is something that is awarded to you if you do a dive to a raid voyage. So if you ever go into the voyages and say, we'll take, for example, Order of Souls. Order of Souls has raid voyages. If you do one that is like an Ashen Lord or a Skeleton Fort, or like a Burning Blade Armada, like you're going to be getting the highest tier trade company specific loot that is part of the commendation for that company. And these are, you're going to be getting multiple of these. So I think I was able to get, I think I'm up to grade 2 or 3 on my Gold Hoarder one, where they give you the little reliquaries. I think I'm at like 10 of 15 for those. And it's at grade 3. So what would that be? Like 30 and 45? I can't, 30 and 60. I'm not sure how the scaling goes on that one, unfortunately. Rare really ought to normalize that, by the way. That's something that's always kind of weird. Like I can't predict where each commendation that comes out is going to go based on the first tier of it. That's something that I think would be nice. Kind of unify how many turn-ins there are for all of the combinations. So the rare ones, you know, if whatever the rare one is going to be, if it's going to be like 15 or something, the hard to find stuff, have that be something where you are only going to every time that happens, you're always going to know that regardless of what type of commendation it is, if it's a rare item, there's only going to be X number of that item. Just kind of, you know, bring a little uniformity, I guess. Maybe, is that a word? I think that's the word I'm looking for. A little more uniform to, or yeah, I think uniformity. I'll have to look it up. I don't care. Anyway, to actually being able to predict where these commendations are going to go. So I've been very happy with it so far. I think I've gotten to like grade 2 with all of the different trade companies as far as the special loot goes. But the fact that they offered these, I have to say, is very nice, because at the end of the day, if someone's new to the game and they're looking to find a way to kind of get a decent amount of gold to be able to try and buy some of the cosmetics that have been in the game for, you know, like the last 6 years, this is a perfect way to kind of kickstart that. You know, it's about a month after wait, has it been about a month since the PS5 launch? No, it hasn't. God, almost though. It's almost been a month since the PS5 version launched, and a lot of people are going to be trying to work hard to get those commendations knocked out, maybe even get some loot, get some access, because a lot of the cosmetics right now in the shops, there's a good portion of those that are locked behind commendations, and if you haven't completed those commendations when they came out, you will not be able to get access to that to those cosmetics. And that's something that a lot of people are kind of looking around and finding out. So I've been very happy with the result of these gilded voyages. I think that unfortunately, due to the nature of the server issues with the game, as far as like the dives not working or just crashes in general, weird bugs, things like that, unfortunately has soured the experience for a decent amount of folks for this loot. And it's a shame, because I feel like everyone should have the opportunity to try and do these. Now, that being said, I fully anticipate that there are some of us who went out, threw these down, and for no fault of our own, well, maybe I can't say that. I can't necessarily say that, but for reasons outside of what I can, kind of list off here, some folks are going to lose theirs because of just, piracy and PvP in the nature of, getting sunk and losing your treasure. There's always going to be reasons why folks aren't able to get it, but everyone should at least have an equal opportunity, that at a base level, you can trust that the game is not going to be the reason for you to lose out on that. So hopefully that's something that Rare is working on. I feel like it was very sad to see that a lot of people were having trouble with that. But hopefully this is not like the last time we'll ever see the Gilded Voyages. Typically, these were kind of a nice little gift at the end of the year. Around Christmas time, we used to be able to get our choice of a Gilded Voyage, whether we wanted Athena, Gold Hoarder, Order Souls, we got to pick one, and now we're being afforded the opportunity to have one of each, which I hope they continue to do. I hope this is kind of a way to bring in pirates to jump on during like golden glory weekends, although that tends to be an issue with server stability when there's so much loot being hauled around. A lot of folks have trouble with that, but at the end of the day, it is still going to be more beneficial to Sea of Thieves and Sea of Thieves players for things like this to be an incentive to jump in and actually play the game. Which at the end of the day, I think is you know, people want to grind through stuff. People want to get cosmetics. They want to feel a sense of earned value every time they set sail. And having Gilded Voyages is a great way to kind of supplement the low times when you normally wouldn't have something fun to kind of push you to do something in the game. For a lot of folks, that's how it goes. I imagine there are the folks out there that have their own reasons for wanting to play and get along just fine without necessarily needing to have a commendation or a cosmetic or something to push them to jump on and set sail. But I would imagine a lot of folks typically are probably just looking to actually do or work towards a goal, which is a very reasonable thing for them, given the nature of this game and leveling and power progression, stuff like that. So hopefully you guys are all having a good time with these. A little bit of a PSA. I do want to let you all know that as a result of the Gilded Voyages, there have been a lot of people turning in treasure, which is definitely going to impact the emissary ledgers. And if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, feel free to do a quick little video on what the emissary ledgers are. But effectively, every time you turn in treasure as an emissary, you're going to be pushing yourself up a leaderboard. And if you receive the top 25% of players, you're going to be getting all of the available rewards for that. It's a good way to kind of catch up on a lot of the content that's been released through those systems each month, as there's only one turnover for new content every season. So make sure that you guys jump into the game, head over to the Pirates log, take a look at the emissary ledger that you're interested in through the actual emissary that you're working towards, and just make sure that you are good. Make sure that you're in the top tier. We've got about 11-12 days left as far as days in the month to be able to like claim in or to get your reward ready. So do yourself a favor, make sure that you're logging in. I think the current rewards right now are the speaking trumpet and the lantern for the respective trade companies. So just keep an eye out on that. Make sure that you're getting it if you need it. I know I'm still behind in a couple of mine. So I'm still kind of working on mine because every time they do a community day, it's always towards the end of the month, and I never get to sail quite as much as I want around that time. So I always fall out of the top emissary, which that's on me. You know, just life in general. Also, it's been a super crazy month and a half for me, so I really haven't gotten a chance to sail too much. That I'm hoping to actually change in the future. I'm hoping to actually do some more streaming. I'm going to be focusing on some stuff that kind of keeps me entertained and happy, and doing stuff that I'm working on so that my mood can improve and that I feel a little bit more connection with some friends and just kind of spend some time with them. So if you all are out there on the seas, make sure that you're taking advantage of this. Again, this is something that is ending on the 22nd/23rd, depending on your time zone. I believe GMT, it's like 2 a.m. or midnight for GMT. But you do want to make sure that you're taking into account time zones when that goes, because I know at least for me, it will probably end on the 22nd. So really glad to see this. Really think that Rare did right by the loot pools for this. I think that they were a great way to really kind of push some of the old school piracy that I've seen on Sea of Thieves. I think I was watching Boxy and Beardageddon the other day, and Boxy had an incredible play on a tuck sloop where a couple pirate legends who look like old salts who hadn't been playing for a while and just recently jumped back in, like they were kind of wearing their Athena gear and their pirate legend gear as if they'd kind of stopped playing after the second year. And boy, they were prairie dogging all the time. They just kept like every couple seconds they would they'd pull out their spyglass, they'd hop up somewhere high, do a quick little spin around on the back of the canopy, and then they'd come back down and continue moving stuff. I don't know why they decided to grab kegs and put them in the crow's nests. That kind of spoke to their experience in the game as well too, is the fact that they were still stuffing kegs in the crow's nest, which hint, if you don't know, for the PlayStation players, kegs, for one, do not belong on the ship. For two, if you have to have a keg on the ship, put it on the very tip of the bowsprit. And for three, if you have to have a keg on the bowsprit, always make sure you use something like an eye of reach or a pistol or a throwing knife to stay far enough away from it when you throw that to kill one of your friends on the bowsprit. Always good to make sure to keep yourself safe. Even if you're murdering your friends, keep yourself safe. So pirates, hopefully you guys enjoyed the Gilded Voyages as much as I have. It's been fantastic. It's been lucrative. I've had more gold now than I have in a while, which is saying a lot because I generally don't get a whole lot of gold because I usually only sail solo. But it's been really fun to jump in with friends and be able to kind of knock some of these out in big groups, and just even if it's like even if it's for like an hour, 2 hours at most, it's been really fun to kind of jump on, knock one of these out, have a good sesh, and then, you know, come back for another day or something like that. And the fact that they've had these available for a decent period of time as well too, really does show that Rare understood that there's a lot to these. There's many of them. People are going to want to capitalize on them, and to give us the opportunity to not have to worry like, oh my God, I had plans this weekend. You mean it's only going to be available for 2 days and I have 4 I have to knock out? That's not going to be fun for me. I have to try and figure out if I'm even going to be able to take part in this. And the reason I bring that up is because if you do one of these, you're going to be rewarded with the Sea Mark tattoo, which I love. And I think if you go into, I'm trying to think of where this information can be found. It's probably going to be under Pirate Log. It will probably be under events, and then it'll probably be under special events. And then if you go into the special events, there's the Gilded Voyages, which if you click on, you will see unlock the Sea Mark tribute tattoo, which if you don't know, Sea Mark actually is a character in the extended universe in the comic books. So if you go back to, or if you go to Amazon and go to Comixology, do a search for Sea Dog, not Sea Dog, just Sea of Thieves comic. There's a good chance that they will show up there. As far as I know, in all the regions that it's available, these are all still free of charge. You can still download these and like view them on your Kindle or on a tablet through the Kindle app or through the web browser through Amazon. But Sea Mark is part of Lissetti's crew, and a very cool looking pirate overall. I wish we had more pirates that kind of looked like some of the pirates in the extended lore. But this is going to be, I believe, the first or second bit of lore for Sea Mark that's been introduced into the game. I could be wrong. I think he's been referenced, but I don't think we've gotten anything. I'm pretty sure we haven't gotten anything that actually is like tied to him as a pirate as far as aesthetics go. But this being the first one says to me that there's a better chance that with the results of the comic for the search for the Sea Dog, or the Sea Dog search, or I'm blanking on the name of it, and I'm on a roll now, so I don't want to stop what I'm doing to look it up. But the Sea Dog search for DeMarco's soul by Lissetti to bring him back brought together her crew, and having this as, and you know, watch someone come back and be like, Logan, Sea Mark wasn't actually part of Lissetti's crew. He was part of DeMarco's crew. You're an idiot. But having his tattoo set in the game gives me hope that eventually we'll see Lissetti and her crew come through the Sea of Thieves at some point, even if it's just kind of like a little drop in, the way Briggsy tends to do for little story bits, which I'm not going to get into the whole thing about that, but it's nice. You only have to do one Gilded Voyage. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be your Gilded Voyage. It could be someone else's. But going into the actual season progress under the season 12 and looking in the events tab for the special events for the actual like Gilded Voyage, that's how you'll be able to check to see if you've earned the tattoo set. And you do have to click on the Gilded Voyages thing to go into it, which I think was unnecessary, but I'm not gonna nitpick on this one, to be able to see if you've gotten the progress for that. So just keep an eye out for that. And yeah, so far I think that's it. I've been still playing the game on a fairly consistent basis. So currently I'm at 75 for my season pass, which I would argue for anyone that's listening to this podcast, if you've been playing the game for 6 years, you probably hit 75 in the first 3 hours. And I really think you guys ought to check out, like, it's called Grass. It's a weird spelling, but check it out. Trust me. No, I kid. I love you guys. I know you're all probably so much more busy than I am half the time, and I play other stuff all the time as well too. But it's good to kind of take a look at the seasonal content every once in a while. I've started a new habit. I don't know if you guys have thought about this or have given it a shot or anything, but I've started to treat every season as kind of like its own I'm trying to think of a good way to kind of explain this. So right now I'm working on guild cosmetic stuff, where you got to wear the specific like heroic or navigator outfits. But once that's done, one of the things that I want to try and start doing is really celebrating each season. And what I mean by that is, with each season we get our plunder pass, and there's the paid for plunder pass, and then there's the free pass that gives you different cosmetics. And what I want to do is every season start up a new ship. It's probably going to be a sloop, because those are the ones that I run the most. So those are the ones that I kind of like create the most. But with the plunder pass, I want to slowly, as I unlock it, begin to add different parts from the season pass to both my character as well as my ship. So right off the bat, like, I'm already unlocking the Gorgon hull. But by level 10, I've got the cannon flare, which means it will never get equipped. So I don't really understand why it's even in there. And then by 20, I've got the creeping stone curse and the gold spinner wheel, which the gold spinner wheel, by the way, don't sleep on the gold spinner wheel. It is a very cool wheel. And then there's like hairdos, and you've got, of course, this season is the famous pirate cosmetics. So there's the belt and the eye patch, which the eye patches, I haven't heard anyone talking about how cool the eye patch is for this. But the cosmetics for this are something that, as I am slowly kind of working to get through my seasonal pass, I want to try and equip a lot of the cosmetics that I get it. So that way, during that season, there will be at one point where I have everything that I typically sail on in a typical session, all of the cosmetics from the season pass that I actually worked on. Because so often, a lot of the time that we are playing the game, we're earning levels so swiftly in the season that we don't really have a way to appreciate the cosmetics that we get. And as a result, we tend to forget what actually was associated with each different season. And as such, I feel like it's a real pain, or not a pain, but it's a shame that effort goes into the seasonal rewards and no one really gets a chance to appreciate them outside of one or two pieces. And for example, this season, level 60 has the wishbone hat, which I think everyone has fallen in love with. But there's also the Wild Rose music box, which is a little trinket that you can put in your ship. And unfortunately, one of the weird things about this is that the Wild Rose music box itself doesn't actually play music. Now, I'm hoping that they'll give this another shot, and they'll go back and actually allow this music box to be played. I was talking with Caleb about this because he and I were talking about the season rewards, and he brought up a really strong point, and I tried to refute it. And I couldn't after a certain point. I had to concede because he said that the music box doesn't make music. And I'm like, yes, I had heard. And he's like, I don't understand why. And I figured, well, it's probably due to the nature of the actual item itself, that it is a trinket that is intended to be placed on some sort of object on a ship. And there may be some weird interactions or reasons why the classification of it being a trinket and on a ship is preventing them from being able to make it interactable. And he came back with some interesting comments about how the clocks in the game that are trinkets can show the actual in-game time. And I thought, yeah, that's a fair point. And then we talked about the fact that there are music boxes that are placed in every tavern that you can interact with. And in pretty much every music box that you can find in the world, you can interact with. So I did find it very strange that the Wild Rose music box does not actually have any specific music tied to it that you can interact with. And I think that if you had the opportunity to go back during the season to address that they would be able to add one of the songs from the Wild Rose tattoo to this actual music box, because it's a beautiful music box, holds a lot of value for a lot of us who have gone through the Wild Rose tall tales, and just to be able to have that is something that I think is very much a positive boon to the community. One of the things that I did want to let you guys know about, because I did talk about the gold spinner wheel, is the Iron Maiden cannons, which are on level 51 on the free tier. These I love. It's a beautiful aesthetic. It's a great hearkening to the Iron Maiden itself and in its design of effectively a torture device, but taking that concept and applying it as a theme to the actual cosmetic for the cannon, I thought was really interesting, and made me think about the fact that I'm pretty sure that in the actual Pirate Emporium, they had added a ship set or a pirate set that kind of coincided with that. Now I know like the Checkmate ship collection is the current one that they've offered through the Pirate Emporium as far as the ships go. So I've been kind of digging around to try and see, like, wasn't there like a set of Iron Maiden cosmetics that was introduced or was supposed to be introduced, and I can't for the life of me find them. And I could have swore that was something. Now I could be completely misrepresenting Rare and saying that they probably had plans to actually have this be something that was coming to the game with the update on the 23rd, which actually, now that so it might be the case that they have this as a supplement to the Deadlock Jailer ship collection, which is coming out on the 23rd, if I remember correctly, and the Deadlock Jailer stuff. But I could have swore I had seen somewhere that they were going to be bringing some Iron Maiden stuff, and I just can't figure out where that was supposed to be. So kind of a shame there, but that's, not much else I can really do or say about that, unfortunately. So really just love what's going on with the game as far as the cosmetics right now, as far as what they're doing with the season pass. I think that the season pass content, especially the free tier, really is doing some fun stuff. And the fact that the Gorgon set is, which is Gorgon, I guess the easiest way to describe this for people that aren't familiar, is a mythological creature akin to Medusa, if I recall, based on what I've seen and what I remember from, what was it, like Jason and the Argonauts? Is that what that was from? What was that old Harryhausen film? Or I don't know. My memory's failing me on this one. It's been so long since I've had to think about the old stop motion skeleton movies that I studied for college back in 2001. It's been over 20 years. Get off my back. But the cosmetics in general, really love them. I think they've done a fantastic job with the seasonal pass. I think the top hat and the 9 Lives jackets, very, very fashionable. Like those very much. Love the fact that the famous pirate stuff is in there too. I think they did a great job with that. I'm very happy so far with the cosmetics that they've introduced that way. One thing that I think I would have changed is as far as I know, we haven't been able to get any kind of throwing knife cosmetics outside of the 3 that are currently available in the shop, and then the ones in the Pirate Emporium. I think it would have been a really fun idea to use this season as a way to promote the throwing knife and the pistol with some fun cosmetics through the Plunder Pass. And I'm going to eat crow if I look through this and I find that they did actually do that and I didn't notice it. But I don't think they did. So I feel pretty safe being able to say, like, of the things that we got that weren't necessarily tied to the famous pirate set, I think they would have done well to use some of those slots to introduce custom cosmetics for season 12 for the new weapons that they've brought to the game. Like the tattoo sets or like a hair set, I would be fine removing those and putting them in something else and doing something that would actually kind of be like, hey, we know you're sick of just having the sailor throwing knife. We'll give you a really awesome looking knife through the season pass. So a little bit of feedback there. Hopefully Rare hears this and takes it into consideration with future season passes. But overall, very happy with the season pass. Very happy with season 12 in general. It's you know, crashes and weird glitches aside, I think everyone's really fallen in love with the throwing knife. I think it's definitely the most fun weapon to be using. I think that there definitely needs to be some balance done to the double barrel pistol. I think it reloading at the same rate as an Eye of Reach, but with longer shot times to be able to capitalize on the double barrel charged shot compared to an Eye of Reach is definitely harming its appeal right now. And additionally, I think that the reload for both of barrels there needs to be something. They need to go in, take a look at it, see what the biggest complaints are, and see if that can be tweaked ever so slightly to try and bring it a little more in line between a flintlock pistol and an Eye of Reach, just as far as like power and reload speed, things like that. I think something like that will really kind of like understand, because I don't think that a charged shot is nearly as much as a full Eye of Reach as far as like the amount of damage it deals. And if that's the case, it should not load nearly as long as the Eye of Reach does. But I think in my testing, it's about on par with the Eye of Reach, if maybe not just a slight bit slower. So a little bit of feedback there. Hopefully Rare doesn't mind the slight criticisms in the tooling for their new weapons, but I think overall people are kind of unanimous on that front. So we got ourselves a Sea of Thieves news video this week, and I always appreciate these because it's a good way to kind of keep the community abreast of situations that are going on with the game, things that are coming to the game, and things that they want to kind of highlight from a marketing perspective, as this is a company that is trying to make sure that they make money for Sea of Thieves and for Rare and for Microsoft. So with this, it was nice to get a chance to sit down, have them kind of address some of the things that have come to the game as far as the gilded voyages and the Twitch drops that are coming, and that they can that you can kind of like look forward to. But then we got what I believe is one of our favorite parts, which is the spotlight with Drew Stevens, the production director, who's kind of been at the forefront for, I would say, probably since October, November of last year. Since he started coming on the videos, really to address some of the hot topics for Sea of Thieves. Some of the things that we have been talking about gets addressed each month with these videos. And I appreciate that they come out once a month because, one, they are kind of letting us know like where the marketing beats are going to be for each month with the update, and what content we'll see coming through those updates as far as like the Emporium and the shop content, but also just to kind of give us a gauge on where the communication is coming from with the studio, what they're working on. And it's really nice to have these. You know, we used to have these on a weekly schedule back in the first year, and that continued on for quite a while. But eventually they had to drop off. They had to try and put resources into other things. And those other things tended to be pretty good. They were a little behind the scenes things from time to time, or we would get cinematics or trailers for different events that were coming. But with all of that kind of going by the wayside, a lot of that returned to form where Rare, who believes very adamantly that communication with your community is essential in having a good relationship with them. And as I've learned in some ways or another, communication is very important in life. So I really love these moments where we can kind of sit back and talk to Drew in a sense that we are speaking to him through our reports, through our social media, through our content creation, and he can come back and respond to that in these spotlights. And this week is no different. One of the major things that was addressed is that a lot of the work that was put into the PS5 launch was not the only thing that they've tried to work on. They've also tried to work on the stability of the game for specific errors that you get when you're playing. If you get like almond beards or lemon beards, things like that, all the beards have a specific name, and you can always Google it to find out what those beards mean, as far as like the errors that you get for when you're trying to launch the game, or if you get disconnected, things like that. And I don't even know how that got started now that I think about it. I can't remember, but it's been there since forever. And they wanted to let us know that they are aware that the server stability is not where it's at, but they've been so busy trying to get the client stability back in line with what it's expected to be, that they have yet to start working on server stability kind of issues, things like that. And that's always going to be something that they rail against. The more they change about the game code, the more they run risks of it getting causing issues with the servers and server stability. That and just how servers work in general. There's a lot going on with them. And Rare is a very weird game where most of the is just tied to servers and the objects that you put in them, on them, all that kind of jazz. There's a lot that gets held on servers, and when more and more stuff gets put on servers where people are stacking loot, things like that, lots of contributing factors. So it's nice to hear from Drew, who I appreciate as just one of the devs who's been there since the beginning of Sea of Thieves and genuinely cares about this game from a personal perspective. He's very, very much in trying to do what's right for the community, as far as like making sure that the game is in the best state possible. And I always appreciate that from him, as well as the rest of the team at Rare. Every time I've talked to them, always just been very standout people, very, very caring people when it comes to the community in the game. And we got some fun news about this. We found out that there's still issues that they want to work out, but beyond that, they're going to be working in the future to help out with stability overall. One of the things that I think is, or not one of the last things, but one of the things that I thought was very interesting about this is that they're looking to build a way for you to check your reputation, commendations, things like that onto the front end. This is something that I think is really nice as personally for me as a content creator. Every time I go into and Safer Seas kind of helped out with this, but ever since the game kind of kicked up, anytime there's ever been an opportunity where I need to go into the game, take a look at commendations, I've always had to log into the game. And this was helped a while ago. I believe it was when Captaincy came out, where a lot of the commendations that you had were now available through the website. But given the nature of this game being initially like something that was designed for Xbox One and then originally brought to PC during the development, a lot of people are going to be playing this through their Xbox or now through their PlayStation. And not having an easy means to access your reputation, your commendations, things like that, has always been a bit of a pain point. And like I mentioned a bit ago, the Safer Seas aspect of this has helped tremendously. Being able to load up the game in Safer Seas, just to be able to check out cosmetics, look at commendations, check reputation, check ledgers, things like that, have been really nice, because I feel like what I'm doing is, while I still have to log into the game to be able to check those things, I'm not taking a spot away from someone who's wanting to get onto a high seas server with the intent of playing and going out and plundering and what have you. So Safer Seas has always been a nice way for me to try and remove myself from the potential player pool of the community who are looking to play the game, for the 15 to 20 minutes that I want to be able to check something for show notes or things like that, you know? So having this stuff kind of on the front end really does kind of ensure that I'm not having to spin up a server if for whatever reason I want to go in and check something on my commendations, reputations, what have you. That information being brought to the front end really should help kind of reduce the number of times servers are going to get pinged for an instance to get created for a player who is realistically only going to be on the game for maybe 10, 15 minutes at most, which isn't enough to really like do anything in Sea of Thieves except for maybe go buy a few things in the shops, but that's about it. But to remove that part of the game and bring it forward to the front end. It wasn't something that I expected, but it is something that I've always wanted. And to have this be something that they're looking to do really does kind of encourage me that, you know, they are looking at reasons in ways that they can move away from players not necessarily wanting to play the game, but wanting to check stuff in the game without having to impact the servers. So I'm kind of hoping that that's something that they can do with the current offline method, where you don't necessarily have to have, like with Safer Seas, you can play alone and you don't have to be connected to the PlayStation network or the Xbox network, if I'm remembering correctly. Feel free to fact check me on that one too, because I'm going off of memory there. But overall, I'm really happy to see that this is something that they are looking to do, and I didn't expect it. All right, this is for real the last thing that Drew talked about that I'm really surprised this took so long. I thought we were going to be getting this like addressed at some point. I didn't even know if we were ever going to get addressed, but I figured like they would talk about this at some point. But for those that are aware, the brig is currently in a weird state where it is faster than pretty much all of the other ships, like the galleon and the sloop. There's been debate about whether or not, and for those that may not understand, there's a little bit of context that maybe I should provide here for the PlayStation 5 fans out there just coming to the game. There are a lot of tricks to how the game works. One of them is that when you're sailing into the wind, when you're heading directly into it or slightly next, you know, it's not directly head on, but it's enough head on. The way to get the most speed out of that is to not try and catch the wind, but to actually flatten your sails forward, to bring them facing forward, or as I haven't heard this in a while, but we used to call it dummy sails because it was the default state that they were in when you first booted up the game. So if you sailed around with dummy sails, it was because you were a dummy and you didn't know how to angle the sails to actually catch the wind when the wind was catchable. But when you are sailing, if you end up sailing into the wind, you're slower than you were if you were in, or you're slower than you would be if you were sailing with the wind. But if you're going directly into it and you do your sails flat forward as the default status, or dummy sails, then you would get a bit of a boost. It wasn't enough of a boost to be faster than with the wind, but it was at least a little bit closer to the standard if you weren't using the wind, but you weren't against the wind. And this was kind of a long known tactic for sloops. Sloops who are the fastest against the wind, whereas galleons are the fastest with the wind. And the brig always was supposed to be in between. It wasn't going to be faster than a sloop into the wind, but it was it was definitely going to be faster than the brig, or excuse me, the galleon. And it wasn't going to be faster than the galleon with the wind, but it was definitely going to be faster than a sloop with the wind. And it was always intended to be that middle range, which always kind of gave it a little bit of an edge because it seemed to have the best of everything. It had two masts, so if you got demasted, there was a good chance you still had at least one mast up. You had more than one cannon per side, so even though 3 people were on the ship, you could have 4 cannons, whereas with the sloop, you only had the 2 cannons per side, but you didn't have as much power as a galleon where they had 4 cannons per side, so you could have the full crew on one side of the ship and being able to do a full barrage. So those were always the trade-offs, and it was a good trade-off until a bug happened. And I would argue that this bug has been in the game years, to be perfectly honest. It's been around for years and everyone knows it, but Rare's never addressed it. And this is the first time we've actually heard them address the fact that the brig is bugged and that it is faster than it really ought to be. And so the intent here is that they are going to be testing this in Insiders, which is their NDA locked version of the game where you can play test the game before it's live content, and you can kind of give feedback in the forums to be able to let the devs know what's working, what's not working, how it feels. It shouldn't be used as a way for you to go in and complain about a change that they want to make to the game being ridiculous. You can provide feedback that lets them know, like, hey, this is working as intended. Hey, this doesn't feel good, or it's not good. But there's always been a bit of harassment that tends to come, or entitlement that tends to come with the insiders from time to time, and I've definitely seen some snipe backs from Rare themselves, maybe making some poor choices as far as verbiage when addressing some of these issues. But overall, the point of the insiders is to try and give as much honest feedback without having your opinion interjected too much into it. You should try to be a little more scientific about that kind of stuff. But regardless of how the forum posts go, which are always on fire, this is going to be something that they're bringing to insiders. And the intent is that you're going to be able to test out this kind of stuff. You should be able to try and do some tests. And some of the ways that you can do that are not easy. Like it's really hard for insiders. If we had the ability to load up multiple ships as like a fleet experiment, to be able to spawn in a sloop and a brig at the same time on the same server, we would then be able to have the ability to test out multiple ships. Even if you have like 1 or 2 people, you can still kind of sail a sloop and a brig with 1 or 2 people. It's not difficult to really kind of manage that. Heck, I know plenty of people who can manage a galleon on their own. I've managed galleons on my own. It's not fun, but it's manageable. But you got to, plan ahead for that kind of thing. But having the ability to actually spawn in multiple ships on the same server, or to be able to load into a scenario on the insiders, given that it's a fork and they can do what they want with it from the code itself, to be able to spawn in multiple ships with people that you plan to do this kind of speed testing is realistically the only way that you're going to get honest feedback. The variables are too high, and to try and ensure that people who are playing on insiders are testing for the right reasons, as opposed to just trying to get the cosmetics and the gold that's associated with playing your 1 hour a week. They really need to give us a set experience to be able to load in and realistically run a race, have the wind. And unfortunately, I think the problem that I'm running into with this insiders aspect of it is there are so many variables that come into play when trying to do this kind of a test, that you really do need kind of a sandbox available to insiders, where you can have, say, like set wind, flat waters, multiple ship types, be able to load in multiple ships in the same location and be able to do these kind of tests. Because I think at the end of the day, Rare is the one that has the ability to do these kind of like tests. They can see the code and actually decide what are the flat speeds and stuff like that. And hopefully what the intent of the insider aspect to this is to give feedback for anecdotal data, which unfortunately is at best a feel that you're giving to the devs in response. There's probably not really a good way to test this outside of live until we get the ability to spawn multiple servers on the same or spawn multiple ships on the same server with friends to be able to do this kind of testing and stuff like that. I'm sure Alliance servers are just out there doing it every single day. But genuinely, actually, and I just recently heard of a bug where people are abusing how Hourglass is set up to be able to get 2 ships on the same server, which seems insane considering the current method is just to do a countdown with someone in your time zone on 2 separate accounts, to click set sail at the same time, and then check the Athena table emissary for multiple ships on the table once you put up your emissary for it. But you got to have Pirate Legend to be able to get access to the emissary, and then be able to throw down the emissary to check and see if a ship appears when both of you put your flags up. But overall, getting back to the point of this, I'm glad that Rare is looking to address the core issue here, which is that the brig is currently faster than it should be. And to bring that speed down and then bump up the galleon and the sloop, so that it feels like those ships are working as intended, I think will really kind of bring a little bit, not like rejoice or I'm kind of struggling with the words that I want to use here, but it should at least help give players a sense that Rare is looking to try and balance the combat with Sea of Thieves, and people having the ability to run if that's what they want to do. The trouble comes in is that with a lot of these things, the intent is good, but the testing or the data doesn't always pan out, as we've seen with hit registration, as we've seen with server stability. They always try to work on these things, you know, shark spawn rates, things like that. Sometimes they take, sometimes they don't. And then sometimes it just needs to get kind of worked on a little bit longer than they originally anticipated. So hopefully this is something that Rare is looking to keep track of over the next 6 months, to better get analytics on whether or not the community feels it and likes what they feel, or if things need to get tweaked, or if the things didn't even really like catch on, and we're getting that kind of placebo effect where we think things are cool, but we don't actually, like, we don't know if it's accurate or not, because we don't have a good means of testing that kind of thing. So lots to see kind of down the line how things are going. Again, this all kind of speaks to what Rare had set as the precedent for season 12 and the rest of the year when they did their little event, that they want to try and continue enriching not only in the stability and bringing new tools to the sandbox, but ensure that they're looking at a lot of the issues that have been kind of rampant in the community's mindset for things that we'd like to have fixed in the game, or at least addressed in the game, so that attention is being spent where it's needed the most, as opposed to what it was in the past, where a lot of it kind of went to story focused content being delivered on a regular cadence, along with seasons and getting monetization sorted out and things like that, and then eventually building up the services as far as like the foundational improvements to the game that would ensure the longevity of being able to play for multiple years, while still earning towards certain goals within the game, whatever those goals may be for you, unless it's story, in which case read comics. So I'm glad that they're doing this, and I think it's fantastic that they're addressing it and that they want to ensure players are aware of this sort of thing. I think the last bit of news that's really kind of worth letting you guys know about before I let you go here is there's going to be Twitch drops. And if you watch the Sea of Thieves news video, the dates that they gave were slightly off. So if you want to participate in the Sea of Thieves Twitch drops over on Twitch by watching your favorite partnered Sea of Thieves streamer, you can pick up the Eastern Winds Ruby items, the capstan, the tankard, the cannon, and the sails from May 24th through to the May 27th. Typically for this, you just need to be watching one of the Sea of Thieves partnered streamers, which, if you're curious, most of them generally have that information provided on their stream somewhere. Or if you head over to aka.ms/Twitch_drops, the details are usually there, and they usually have a list of the partnered streamers that are available. Sometimes even the streamers that are actually streaming at the moment that you can actually find to be able to start earning towards these. Otherwise, you can always head over to the drops page in Twitch and just search for the Sea of Thieves campaign for Twitch drops, and typically on there they'll show participating channels if that's the information that you need to do. As always, I can't not recommend automatic Twitch as a Chrome extension. If you use Google Chrome, it's great to sit down and have a stream going, being able to know that not only will they claim the points or anything that is possible to claim on that channel, but any Twitch drops that are earned are automatically claimed, as you do need to do that to be able to progress to the next item. So I always recommend automatic Twitch. There are a multitude of different other Chrome extensions, as well as extensions for other browsers browsers in their store that will allow you to do this. I use automatic Twitch because I think it's one of the most stable ones that it doesn't seem to really impact anything, and they've been very nice about that. And I think over the years, they've helped claim, let's see, the last claim was 2 minutes ago, 462,580 channel points since I believe this thing kind of got started on. So that's how many times I've never had to click on the button, the claim points button at the bottom of the Twitch chat, which honestly, like, that should just be an automatic claim through Twitch. The fact that you actually have to claim those is ridiculous, which is why I moved to something that actually claims them automatically. Same thing with the Twitch drops. I can have a stream going on. Typically it's on like a Friday. So during my work day, while I'm working on emails and having meetings, I'll pop open like Fuzzy Bond or Beard or Beardly or Mads or Kraken, you know, Freya, someone, whoever happens to be like streaming at the time. And I usually nothing against Boxy or Beard again, but I usually don't go for the people that already have enough live viewers. I usually like to go for the folks that, one, I either like them as a human being and I think that they're genuinely just a cool person, or I go for the smaller partners who are in the program, but still need that little bit of a bump in the viewership to get a little more of attention. So try and find someone, you know, not necessarily who doesn't deserve it, but someone who, you know, try and find someone who's like maybe kind of on the lower viewing site if you plan on throwing up a stream just to claim these and have the action there, because every little number on that view counter does matter, especially like if it's a newer streamer and they don't have anyone and they're still trying to get that 3-person average to get their affiliate status. It really does make a difference to allow people to have like the numbers go up just by 1, even if it's just you having it open and you're not actively watching the stream, you're just there for the points. It's always nice to just kind of give people a little bit of a bump in life, right? Especially if you're not having a good day and you want to stream and you want to feel good about it, but you look at that viewer count and it's low, and that's always rough, man. It's a hard, long struggle, especially if you're trying to figure out how to do content creation. But Twitch drops coming. Remember, those are from the 24th through the 27th. You're going to be able to earn the Eastern Winds Ruby items, the capstan, the sails, the cannons, and the tankard for those. Additionally, there are Game Pass Ultimate perks coming to Sea of Thieves again. This time they're actually going to be providing obsidian content, and the obsidian flag and the obsidian flintlock pistol. I don't know why I was going to say peninsula, but the obsidian flintlock pistol, which is a very coveted item, is coming back, and this is the first time that it's been offered in a while. I would recommend anyone who plays Sea of Thieves, regardless of your time on the Sea of Thieves, if you don't have this and you do have Game Pass Ultimate, I highly recommend that you take time to make sure that you go into your Game Pass, look under the perks tab or section, and just check and see like when that actually goes live, how to actually like claim that so that you can actually get that flintlock pistol. It is one of the few of the sets. It's one model that has like a mercenary one. There's the obsidian one. I'm missing one. There's I believe the one that's actually the silver blade one from the Insiders is another one. I feel like I'm missing a 4th one. I feel like there's a 4th variant of the flintlock that's out there. But the reason why it's so coveted has to do with the model. The model itself, especially when the game first launched, was the only one that actually has like an iron sight at the end of the barrel to give you an aiming reticle roughly on where you should fire. And it was as much of a center point for the actual pistol as you could get without having some sort of thing on your screen that shows you where the marker is, right? Imagine the cracks in the eye of reach where they all kind of form into one little access point, and that access point is the point that you use to aim when you are firing at something. So overall, I think that's pretty much everything that came out from the Sea of Thieves news video, there is the Deadlock Jailer cosmetics that are coming to the Emporium. There are new cosmetics and weapons headed to the actual shops around the Warsmith content. Or is it Warsmith? No, Flaming. I'm trying to think of what it's called. I'm blanking out on it. There's a portrait set that's coming for emotes. There's the angler fish, fishing rod, a bunch of different stuff actually coming over to the stores, the shops. So that's all coming out next week. Keep an eye out for that. I believe that is on the 23rd, which is Thursday. And then Twitch drops start the day after for that. So keep an eye out. Make sure that you guys pay attention to when you want a sale. Make sure that you're opening up your Xbox or PC or PlayStation 5 to get that download started when the update actually goes out. So that way you aren't sitting there kind of wanting to sale, but finding out that it's, you know, you didn't download the stuff ahead of time. So now you have to wait. So just be cautious of that as we're getting closer and closer to that new update. All right, pirates, that's going to do it for this episode. If you made it this far, as always, thank you so much for the love and support that you've given, whether you're telling someone about this podcast, sharing it on social medias, rating it on Spotify or iTunes or whatever other services you're listening to this on, or over on YouTube, where the likes and subscriptions have been going up, and I appreciate all of the folks that comment on those videos and subscribe. It's really nice. I've slowly been over the years getting closer and closer to that 1,000 subscriber number. That is part of the monetization for YouTube. I'm not terribly concerned about that. If I was, I'd probably make different content. And the times that I do make different content on there, it actually does fairly well. But it just kind of goes to show that it's not at the moment a priority that I'm working on. Maybe in the future, because I am going to have to figure out a way to try and either monetize better or pick up a second job. So funds are going to be something that I concern myself with in the future here. So as a result, I'm going to be trying to be a little more earnest in my efforts as a content creator. Maybe I can actually do something that helps out with this, but it's a hard job, and I don't envy the full-time content creators that do that, but I do appreciate the support that you all offer me. Festa Legends news, tickets bought, flight secured, hotel is going to be on site. I've got the after party thing set up there. I think I'm going to be going for Thursday through Monday. I think I'll leave on Monday. And I know that as far as the Keelhauled community, if you're going, we are looking not only for volunteers for the show, or not for the show, but for the convention. But we're also looking to try and get as many of the Keelhauled community to a restaurant or something for like either Thursday night or Sunday night. We're trying to see if we can get folks together so we can all kind of have a bit of a dinner for ourselves as a community. There is going to be a community area at the Fest of Legends, and I would love to see if I can get an opportunity to meet anyone from the community that I haven't already before, because I anticipate that I will see the folks that I have seen before there, and I look forward to seeing you guys all again this year. But anyone that is going there for the first time that I haven't had a chance to meet, definitely looking forward to getting to say hi to everyone, greeting you all, having fun, just enjoying the experience, because it's probably going to be a while before I get the opportunity to do something like that again. So I want to make the most of it, and I'm definitely looking forward to it in general. So just a bit of a insight and update on there. Outside of that, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Please, if you guys get a chance and you're still listening, if you haven't already, take some time, help me out with the algorithms. It's stupid how just a little bit of effort can actually make a bit of a difference on some of that stuff. But it's hard to ask folks to take time and remember to take time for that kind of stuff. But it's always appreciated, even if it's just like the one like on YouTube. I appreciate the heck out of that. So pirates, that's going to do it. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, there's always plenty of ways to get a hold of me. I'm not really doing the email anymore. That's kind of dropped off. So if you want to get a hold of me, honestly, best way is going to be through the Discord for Keelhauled, which the links are in the show notes. You can always reach me on Twitter, Threads, at CAPT_LOGUN, Instagram at the moment. More for my personal life. Kind of more that I'm using that for my personal life there. So if you want to get a hold of me for Sea of Thieves stuff, probably best to do that through Threads or Twitter or the Discord. That's probably where I'm going to entertain that kind of communication a lot more. Instagram, probably not going to be responding to too much Sea of Thieves stuff on there, just because that's where I'm sharing more of like my personal life and stuff there. So outside of that, I think that's about it. So pirates, I think that's gonna do it. So thank you, I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.